We are live.
Okay. Hey, everybody. We'll hopefully have some of you join us here soon. Let's see what we have here. We'll need to turn that volume down on yours too.
Volume's off.
Up here we go. You'll want to slide this way, honey, so you can be seen.
Okay, there's no.
Okay, hey, everybody. Well, nobody's here yet, but this is recorded, so there's people watching already. So for those of you watching this on replay, we see that you're here. Anyhow, as we wait for the rest of the world to join us, we're here today to talk about the Schengen. There's updates happening right now for Americans and Australians and people in the UK that are looking at traveling to Europe and Nomad and doing nomadic traveling like Julie and I are doing. And so we want to make sure that you understand the importance of what the Schengen is and what changes took place. And we have a dog wandering around on the floor here that is tap dancing around, making noise. So I'm going to try to pick her up.
Sorry about that.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to chase our dog around the table here. So anyhow, what is this video, this live stream about? It's important if you're going to be a slow traveler, if you're going to be a nomad traveling through Europe, if you have the dream that someday you're going to be living in Europe, but you're not going to do residency, but you want to be able to jump from country to country. It's not as simple as what you might think. It's not like in the 80s where you were able to just go to Spain, spend time there, and go to France, and that you could just jump from one country to another country and get a fresh set of time and just wander around Europe at your pleasure. Something called the Schengen went into place in 1985, and the Schengen has proceeded to grow year over year, with more and more countries joining it. And the Schengen currently is a group of 26 countries, which is about to go to 27 countries as of January 1, and potentially to 29 countries before 2023 is over. So when you're traveling within the Schengen zone and within the entire group of these countries, you have to consider them as being pretty much one country. If you're from the United States, think of it as if you were in Arizona and you wanted to go to Kansas, you can just drive through any state. Nobody's checking you for passports. That's what happens when you're in the Schengen. So when you're in the group of Schengen, which is most of the countries that most Americans think of going to in Europe, you can basically drive across these borders without having to show your passport. And that makes it really simple if you're just going on vacation. You're going to drive across the border. You don't have a bunch of border checks to have to contend with. But when you're, hold on while I capture Katie. All of you that follow us on a regular basis, you know who Katie is. But she is
she's wandering
around the floor. Yeah, we have rain outside, and this is what she does. So right now, if you're looking at going to France and you think you're going to spend 90 days, then go to Spain, you're going to be in violation of the amount of time you're allowed within the Schengen zone. So you'll notice that when Julie and I travel, we spend a larger amount of time in the eastern part of Europe. And that's because we cannot spend 90 days, or we can only spend 90 days in the Schengen zone before we have to leave. And the countries over in the Balkans are not part of the Schengen. Turkey is not part of the Schengen. And so we focus more time here, and that's why you're going to see stuff more on Montenegro, on Serbia, on Turkey from us, because all the rest of the countries, for the most part, are part of Schengen. Croatia was not part of Schengen, or is not part of Schengen yet, but they joined January 1. So if you're a traveler going through Europe and part of your strategy is that we're going to leave the Schengen zone and I'm going to go to a place in Croatia and you've already got your reservation made, you need to change that. you're going to need to move to another country. As of 3 days ago, it was confirmed that Croatia will join January 1 when they switch over to the euro. Bulgaria and Romania are slated to go in the future. They were rejected this go around. They're very upset about this. They obviously want to join the Schengen and become part of the 400 plus million people in the EU that can freely travel from country to country. So the Bulgarians and the Romanians, they were vetoed by one country. They have to have a unanimous consensus amongst all the Schengen countries to let a country join. Austria is the one country standing in the way of Romania and Bulgaria. Now, for us, Romania and Bulgaria not going Schengen is not a bad thing. It's actually kind of good because we can go there and it doesn't count against our Schengen time. But we fully expect that in 2023, they will probably get the go-ahead to join the Schengen zone. So when we make recommendations for you to home base and look at different places to reset your Schengen clock, sometimes we'll bring up places like Novi Sad, Serbia, or Montenegro to go to set up a home base, or here in Turkey, like right now we're in Antalya, Turkey. We're here not just because the Schengen, because we want to be a little bit warmer for part of the winter. And then from here, we're going to head up to Bulgaria, and we didn't know if that was going to count against our Schengen or not. And then we're going to either go towards Poland or Montenegro, and then we're going to head out towards Portugal. So when we go to Portugal and Spain, that's going to be counting on our Schengen clock. And so this is why you're going to see lopsided video from us of more time in the eastern part of Europe versus spending so much time in the West, because we're just not allowed that kind of time.
So we have a couple questions here. Actually, one is a statement. Austria and the Netherlands both vetoed. I didn't quite realize
the Netherlands didn't veto. The Netherlands stood in the way before. On this particular go around, the only country that stood in the way was Austria.
That was
the Netherlands were the problem before. So Romania and Bulgaria have a lot of heartburn right now with Austria.
Yeah.
And again, this is for us being Americans and looking to not have to be in the Schengen continuously. It's a good thing at the moment for us, but we don't expect that that's going to continue.
And then what do countries get from getting into the Schengen zone? Well, they get free through the border.
Visa-free travel. It makes it convenient for their citizens to drive to other parts of Europe without a hassle of a border checkpoint. You just drive across the border and it's like walking across from New Mexico into Arizona. There's nobody going to be there at the border to check it. It means the trucks and imports are back and forth, go very, very easy and smoothly.
Which there are perks to that, but for Americans and others that are non-EU citizens, it's kind of a pain whenever you got to leave after 90 days, and that's the whole zone.
Yeah, and Greece is part of the Schengen zone, but
Yes.
They are geographically separated from everybody right now. So having Romania and Bulgaria join gives them a land bridge to the rest of the Schengen zone, which then also means you have to traverse the Schengen zone to get to Turkey from Serbia, for example. But right now, you can fly in and out of Greece when you're going from a European country that's part of the Schengen zone. It's like getting on a plane in Arizona and getting off a plane in Utah. Nobody's checking your passport. Mm-hmm. But if you're coming from outside the Schengen, then you're going to have to go through all the passport lines. And right now, if you're coming from Bulgaria and they go to the other countries, they're going to have to show their passports and go through the airport checks. So they want to join because they want to be fully integrated into that EU lifestyle and the economic benefits to it. And right now they feel like they're second-class citizens. For those of us not living in the Schengen, it just adds an extra layer of complication. We would love to tell you to invest in Romania or invest in Bulgaria for your European house, but unless you're going to get residency there, or you only plan to be there 90 days at a time, and you're going to leave and go somewhere else to another non-Schengen place, because when they go Schengen, you'll need to go somewhere else. You need to have that in mind, because we love Bansko as a great place to get a cheap home. That
That's
you
in
can get
Bulgaria.
yes, you can get a house there for the price of a car, and be in a great ski area and up in the mountains. And we love the idea and the concept of that. But when they go Schengen, you want to say, okay, well, maybe we'll bounce between Bulgaria and Montenegro, or Albania. So right now you have in the European continent area that you can easily get to. I'm going to work around the continent. Ireland and the UK are not part of Schengen, so you can go there to reset your clock. You can cross down to Morocco, and take a ferry over to Morocco and hit Africa, and that's not part of Schengen. You can then have to go further to the east of Europe, and unfortunately, Ukraine is kind of taken off the table for obvious reasons, but we love Lviv. That would have been a great place to go to get out of the Schengen, Lviv, Ukraine, and maybe someday that will be an option again. Then you have to go further south. You have Serbia, which we like. The city of Novi Sad near the Hungarian border is a great place to set up a home base to wait out 90 days if you wanted to. Or you have Montenegro, which is one of our favorite countries. We own a home in Kotor, Montenegro. That's where we have our strategic home base at the moment. You have Bosnia, and there's actually some very pretty areas of Bosnia. It's worth spending some time in. Albania, Macedonia, and then you have Turkey. And Turkey is a great place to spend the winter, especially if you're not wanting to leave the area. But we're in Antalya. We're on the Mediterranean, about as far south as you can go and still drive, and without going into Syria or Persia, Iran. But it's a great place. We enjoy our time in Turkey.
We do.
And if you go along the Black Sea coast of Turkey, you can hit the country of Georgia. Thing about Georgia, you can spend 12 months in Georgia as an American, and many nationalities, without having to do anything special. So if you're coming over this way, the country of Georgia will take you for a year, and the country of Albania will take you for a year.
Well, Armenia will take you for 6 months.
Armenia will take you for 6 months.
Mhm.
The majority of the rest will take you for 90-day periods of time. When you come to Turkey, you have to do an e-visa to come into the country of Turkey. The others, more or less, you just show your passport as an American. If you're watching us from other countries, your rules will differ depending on where you're from. So that's specific to the Americans. But most of these rules will apply to all nationalities that we're speaking of today.
We have a few questions. One is, the first time going to Macedonia didn't go so well. Are we planning to try again? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We are not going to write it off because of one bad experience. The downside is, because we slow travel, we want to spend a month, 2 months, 3 months in a country. It may take us a while to circle back into getting somewhere. We're not the travelers that go and spend 2 days here, jump on a plane, 2 days somewhere else. Then, our goal is to find out what it's like to actually live there and see what the costs are going to be, what the expenses are, and share them with you. And that's what we do. We're not trying to just check off a list of, can we get to 1,000 countries in the next year. So we do want to get back to Macedonia and spend an actual quality amount of time there. We're going to potentially go through Albania soon for a few days. And so and sometimes we'll do some quick stops along the way. We may not do videos on them because we will focus on the places we spend some time on. But we've been through quite a few countries that we haven't shared videos with, just because we just don't have the same amount of detail to give you. And our goal is to show you what it's like to live somewhere. We like to share our tourist things as well, but we're not like the vacation people. We're here to show you real life. We're here to show you real costs, real experiences.
When we give you information, it is firsthand. It is not somebody's article. It is not some list of things. It is firsthand knowledge, because what we found when we were looking for knowledge, we couldn't find what we are now providing.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. Now, we also have, how has the real estate market held up in Montenegro with the euro and energy crisis?
Oh, it's doing great, actually.
It's doing pretty well.
Well, right now, Montenegro is looking for tourists due to energy tourism, because they are they're doing well as far as energy is concerned, and they're looking at people coming to Montenegro to escape their high cost of energy in their other countries. And so we actually just read an article about that in our Facebook group. We have we posted the article about energy tourism going to Montenegro. The cost of properties has continuously increased in Montenegro, which is good and bad depending on where you sit. We own a home, so it's good. But if you're looking to buy a home there, yeah, prices are creeping up little by little. I will say that, we focus mostly on the areas of Montenegro from Budva or Petrovac going towards Herceg-Novi, towards the border of Croatia, as our favorite areas along the coast. But, the areas of Bar going south towards Osinj on the coast, going towards Albania, they could be up and coming. They could be places where you still get lower cost homes on the coast, but you start having more of a little bit of an Albanian influence into the culture on that area as you go beyond Bar. Bar is just a little bit more industrial. Then you get south of Bar and it becomes a little bit more Albania.
That has a massive beach, though. I want to say it's a couple kilometers long. I'd have to look it up, but it is a sand beach. So there are things to see there. As far as which country did we like the most during our travel experience? Well, it's kind of funny because we can't always agree, but I'll say in the last months, Poland really has been way up on my list.
We like Poland a lot. And unfortunately, it is Schengen, so it is count against your Schengen time. But if you want to go to a place that can be as charming as Amsterdam, but cost a third the amount, Gdansk is where you want to go.
Oh, definitely.
It's a beautiful old town and it's got the beach area up there in the Baltic Sea, but great place. We really enjoyed our time in Poland. Krakow is just a real pleasurable place to spend time as well. A very nice old town. A lot of history in Poland that I didn't know was there. And if you guys don't know, I'm 53% Polish, so I'm a little bit slanted on this. And but it's a neat place. But we also, I will say that doesn't mean we dislike other places, because Serbia blew us away, Turkey's blown us away. We love Montenegro.
We just can't fit everything in.
Yes.
That's the hard
part. Spain is a fantastic place as well, but we haven't been to Spain in a while. There's just so many places that we like, and that's part of the reason that we travel, is because we can't figure out where we want to stay forever yet. And best we can do is say maybe we'll home base here and spend 6 months in the future, and then we'll still travel for 6 months. Before we get into more questions, there's something else I want to bring up about about Europe and changes happening in 2023. The ETIAS system, ETIAS, is going into effect by November this year. They'll start taking applications in May. What this means is the ability for you to just show up with your passport as an American. You're going to have an extra requirement. You're going to have to get this background check done first. Anybody going to Europe is going to need to have an ETIAS application ran, and they'll start running them in May. They'll be good for a 3-year period of time. You go online, you answer questions, and then they should give you some sort of electronic readout. Within like 30 minutes, you'll get your approval. And then when you fly somewhere, you'll have to be able to show your approval, or when you come into Europe, you'll have to show that approval for any of the Schengen countries.
And it's €7. They're going to charge €7, but it's good for 3 years. So
or until your passport expires. So if you only have 2 years on your passport and you do this, it will expire when your passport expires. But if your passport has 4 years, it's good for 3 years. So keep that in mind if you're planning your long-term travels in Europe, that you will need to have that ETIAS done and applied for sometime after May. If you're trying to get into Europe and travel around Europe after November, you won't do it without it. It's probably not too different than what it takes to get into Turkey, where you do the e-visa. Except for Turkey, you've got to do it every time you come, and it's good for your 90 days.
And I want to circle back to which country did we like the most during our travel experiences. The thing is that we actually like them all. And that's a big problem for us because we can't decide. But I mean, even Romania has Brajov, which is really a gorgeous place.
Sibiu was nice.
Sibiu is beautiful. So, I mean, we really have enjoyed everything. Some food we've enjoyed in regions more than we've enjoyed others. But honestly, every place has its charms.
You know, when we start looking at Schengen, and you're making your plans for travel, you know, one thing I want to bring up as you look at that group of 27 countries that will grow to 29 countries, the UK is an option to go to, and you can go there for 6 months. Ireland's an option too. They are much more expensive for your typical expenses, and you know the weather is can be a little bit more cold and cloudy, and then some areas on the eastern side. So you know, so we gravitate towards Montenegro and Serbia and Turkey as kind of getaways in our schedules. And just because we really like some of the areas here, and that's not to take away from Bosnia or Albania. We're gonna go spend a little bit more time there in Macedonia. And when we go to Portugal here soon, we're planning potentially to go take a ferry trip across to Morocco to spend a week and kind of test the waters there. The one thing about Morocco that has us not going there to spend more time at this moment is that, as you know, if you're following us, we travel with our dogs. We got 2 dogs, and we understand that in that part of the world that there's an anti-dog feeling. You know, they like cats, but they don't look at dogs as being proper pets. And so unfortunately, we're going to go test it out for ourselves and see what it's like. And if we feel comfortable with our dogs there, we'll let you know. But we thought the same about Turkey, because we know that in many Arab countries and Persian countries, dogs are not welcome, but Turkey loves our dogs. People here are just fantastic with our dogs. But Morocco, we've heard negative, so we're going to go check out Morocco for ourselves and report back to you on whether or not, if you're a dog person and traveling with your dogs, what it's really like.
Pete says, good day, Warren and Julie from San Francisco. Thanks for the helpful information. I agree, all countries are special in their own way.
Yeah. We really don't dislike any countries.
No.
We will tell you that if you are coming from America, or you're coming from Australia, and you're coming from I don't want to say just a first world country. If you're coming from a country with very clean streets and high standards, your first perception of some places can be kind of awkward. I remember when we were living in the United States and we would travel different places, my initial gut reaction to seeing some places might be a little bit negative, like, oh, is this going to be safe here? I don't know, it looks a little bit old or run down, or there's graffiti.
Yeah.
I don't even see that stuff now.
No.
We've gotten so used to different cultures and different places. We feel so safe in all these different countries we go to. The chances of us being robbed or mugged or having anything negative happen to us is so low in these countries and places we go, and people are so friendly.
I mean, you know, Warren hurt his ankle, and I've had to take the dogs out every day in the evening. So I'm not scared.
If you haven't seen our video on Turkish healthcare, you can see all about my sprained ankle and what it's been like in getting my ankle healed. I'm now getting to walking around a bit. But you know, the thing is, we've been enamored with too many places, and this is why it's difficult. If you leave the United States with a target country and a plan, God bless you, because then you could just go there, set up home, and you could be happy. But if you wanted to be a slowmad, roving retiree, or a nomad, it's hard. Once you open up Pandora's box and you see all of the goodies out there, it's hard to just say, I need to have, or I can't go back there again. You want to go back to places and then see what's around the bend too. It's just tough to just sit still sometimes. I mean, we love when we get somewhere for a couple months and we get to meet people and know people, and that even makes it harder to leave. And we long to go back, but we unfortunately long to go back to a lot of places.
Unfortunately, yes. And I do want to mention that Andorra and Gibraltar are also non-Schengen. However, you are looking some high cost on those. And Andorra, being in the vicinity that it is of Spain and France, you have to make sure that you're getting a stamp in and out. There are things that you really have to be careful about. But if you did have a higher budget and wanted to consider those, they are available.
Yeah, we like Andorra. It's been a while since we've been to Andorra. And for those of you that don't know, it's a little bitty country that you need to blow up the border of Spain and France, and you'll find this little country.
It's breathtaking.
It's very pretty.
Country.
And there's also a little country inside Italy that's landlocked called San Marino. That's also gorgeous, and again, very high-end country.
But that one is Schengen.
But yeah, they end up, well, they qualify as, or their citizens qualify as Schengen. I wouldn't use that as a Schengen escape.
No.
And Andorra, I'm a little bit hesitant towards recommending Andorra. You can probably get away with it, but I'm afraid that there's some things that just could go wrong being stuck in there. I like the harder borders that you have sometimes with going out of the Schengen. Yes.
I just want to bring this up because I have wondered about this. With the Ukrainian and Russian crisis going on, we are seeing rental prices that are skyrocketing. And we have someone that just said, just to let us know, in Belgrade and Novi Sad, prices on rentals and real estate has gone crazy. And the person has rented a 1-bedroom apartment for €800, which is pretty high in that country.
Yeah,
so.
and we're seeing this. And if you haven't seen the real estate video we did here on Antalya, Turkey from, I think, 3 or 4 days ago, I released it. The prices in Antalya, Turkey for homes went up 100% since we were here 10 months ago, and the rents here have tripled. So what used to be $400 a month equivalent is now running $1,200 a month. But this is Antalya, Turkey. It's one of the most visited cities in the world, believe it or not. And I know a lot of Americans do not know about Antalya, Turkey, but they get roughly about 14 million tourists a year. I think it's the 6th most visited city in the world. Beautiful area on the beach. 2.5 million people live in this area. But the Russians and the Ukrainians have moved in here. First, the Ukrainians came. They bumped the prices up. Now the Russians that are fleeing the war, they don't want to be drafted. They've come in. They're buying homes and renting homes. And this is not just in Turkey, but not all of Turkey gets affected the same way. These are highly desirable communities and areas. Novi Sad and Belgrade are seeing that as well. We haven't been there firsthand to assess what that's been like. In Montenegro, we know that there's been a lot of Ukrainian and Russians that have bought property there, and so I'm a little bit wary on giving too much advice on buying a property at this time in some locations, because I don't know if there's a bubble. When the war ends, will the Russians and Ukrainians all decide to sell their homes and go home? Will they stay where they are? It's hard to say. Right now, it's pushing up the prices. Can they stay there? Can the local economies and the people that live there continue to pay those prices? And when the war ends, things can change a lot. So I would just warn you a little bit about jumping into this hot real estate market. It might be better to rent for a while, even at the elevated rents, before you start buying a home. At least get the lay of the land and feel comfortable before you do a quick purchase.
Yep.
Did somebody say something?
Yeah, the same person is saying that they rented a place to a Ukrainian young couple and they paid 6 months in advance. So they were just stunned by the fact that they were able to pay 6 months in advance.
Yeah, our home in Montenegro has stayed pretty full constantly. We actually just had a cancellation for a month, so our home is open in the month of March. So if you go to our website, warrenjulietravel.com, but it's best to look at it on your computer. For some reason, we have an issue on the mobile device with the menu not popping up. But if you go to the services tab, you can actually find our home link for our Airbnb and see what our home looks like in Montenegro. And if you wanted to book it and go there, by all means, please do. But we love our little house in Montenegro and the coastline there and the beach. And for those of you not familiar with Montenegro, It's just south of Croatia. It's on the Adriatic Sea, and it's just
It's really
special.
stunning. It's
It's
very
special.
special.
Population is about 625,000 actually in Montenegro. It gets 3 million plus tourists a year. So for the amount of people that live there and the amount of tourists that come, it's very, very popular. And I know that Americans, unfortunately, get really stuck and trapped into this Western Europe mentality of like, oh, I don't want to go past Austria into the former communist countries. I don't know what to tell you, but
We're happy in them.
great over here.
like
The
them.
cost of living is so much better. And the people are friendly. And believe it or not, there's so many people in a lot of these countries that speak English.
Mhm.
And so we've been so surprised. English, by the way, is a bridge language for those of you that are not used to traveling. It's there's more than 1 billion people on the planet that speak English. There's a lot of them that speak it as a second language. So you'll have foreigners from different countries. They could be from Korea and India and Germany, and they're talking English and speaking English to each other. It's a bridge language. So it's not necessarily just used for Americans and Brits and Australians to communicate with foreigners. Foreigners, or I shouldn't say foreigners, people from other countries are learning English so they can communicate easily in other countries, whether they're from India or wherever. So we're lucky that we know English. It's in Serbia, it seemed like there were more people there that could speak good English or proper English than in some states in America. So
Yes.
I think if you're under 30 years old and in Serbia, it seems like you're pretty much guaranteed to almost be a almost fluent speaker.
And we are going to be going west very soon. So we're going to be able to show prices of places a lot of you guys have been asking about: Portugal, potentially Spain. It's on the agenda, but it just depends on our Poland experience.
Well, if you understand the Schengen now, you understand why we cannot just go and spend the equal amount of time that we spend in some of these countries throughout Western Europe. Because if we want to spend 2 or 3 months in a country and we only allow 90 days in the whole group of 27 countries, it limits us. So we spent a good amount of time in Poland recently. We had quick trips through Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Slovenia, Austria, but not enough to put in solid videos. When we head towards Portugal, we'll be going through Italy and some different places. But we understand that when we do a tourist video, and we've done quite a few different tourist videos, hate to say it, but you guys don't tune in for those. And so there's a lot of effort goes into making videos. And so we realize, okay, you don't care about our tour videos as much as you do about what do things cost, what's it like to live somewhere. So with the limited time I have to work on making videos and still live a life, I'll focus more on trying to do the videos that show you guys the cost of living and quality of life things, more so than the tourist stuff. We like doing the tourist things, but again, it's when we're going through these quick countries, it's mostly going to be quick tourist stuff, and it's not our niche. There's the young people that pop in and out of countries that there's a dime a dozen of them out there on YouTube, but we're here to show you what it's like to live somewhere.
Mitch is asking, do we get back to the U.S. often? No, the plan is like every 2 to 3 years we'll try to get back, but due to our fur babies, that's a little more challenging. So we're going to go probably one by one.
Yeah, I'm somewhat planning to go back to the States for a short period of time, sometime in May or June, to go visit my parents, my father and stepmother, but that's not booked yet. And Julie may at some point go back to visit her family. And our family is scattered all over the United States, so we can't just go back to one location and see everybody. We have family in Florida, California, Tennessee. My mom is actually in the country of Colombia in South America, so it's we're scattered. Julie's family is in Louisiana, so. It makes it difficult to just go back and see everybody, and we enjoy our time in Europe, so we have to strategically plan these things out. We flew my son over to see us in Poland We also had him come see us when we were in Ecuador. So, it's sometimes easier to come see us than us to go see them. My mom actually came over to visit us in Montenegro and Croatia. So, so we covered the changes going on. And if you came in late, let me just go ahead and run down this real quickly. In 2023, as of January 1, 2023, Croatia joins the Schengen zone. Schengen is a group of soon to be 27 countries that you have basically borderless access throughout the countries. Bulgaria and Romania will probably join in 2023, if not 2023, 2024. Austria stood in their way from going into the Schengen zone. And if you're an American, you can only be in the entire zone of the Schengen zone for 90 days every 180 days. And so you have to have your exit strategy to refresh your clock. Now you can fly out, or if you're like us and you're driving around, like we have our car from Bulgaria and we have our Bulgarian corporation that our car's in, the officers of the corporation, we drive our car around Europe. That car takes us across the border. So we don't fly places, we drive everywhere. But you can fly to other parts of the world if you want to. But if you're here to stay in Europe and hang out in Europe and you're looking at these borders, the countries that are not going to Schengen and you want to go reset your 90-day clock, you have UK, you have Ireland, you have going across to Morocco, you have Serbia, you have Montenegro, Bosnia, Albania, Macedonia, where we are right now, Turkey. And whenever the war ends, I recommend that you go check out the country of Lviv, or the country of Ukraine. That Lviv was a magnificent place to visit and stay when we were there in the summer of 2021, before all this stuff happened. We just really loved Lviv, and we look forward to that all coming to a close and end at some point. So those are the areas you can go to reset your 90-day clock. Oh, as well as Georgia. Albania will let you stay there for a year, as if you're an American, and other nationalities, many of them, you can stay for a year without an issue. And Georgia, you can stay for a year without an issue. The UK will let you stay there for 6 months. When you go from Schengen to non-Schengen, you need to plan a third country in there, because when you leave the same day, they count in a day as a day for both countries.
Correct. So
when you go to from Croatia, which is now the new member of the Schengen, and you leave Croatia, for example, and you're going to Montenegro, maybe you want to go spend a night in Bosnia, a full day in Bosnia, and then go to Montenegro. Because if you go to Montenegro and do 90 days and then plan on going back to Croatia, you have a conflict, because you have that one day counts on both calendars.
It does. So you should just assume 88 days. That's the most comfortable, best way to see it, is 88. I wanted to say that somebody has written in that smaller cities in Serbia are still very affordable. She's paying 250 euros a month in Kusabac, I guess.
Oh, yeah, we like a lot of areas of Serbia, by the way. Zlatibor is a beautiful mountain ski town on the border of Montenegro. So Zlatibor, we've done some videos on that. Check that place out. Beautiful, beautiful area. But yeah, we recommend, highly recommend the non-Schengen countries, because these are places we know and feel comfortable with recommending. Montenegro, Serbia, and Turkey. Very, very comfortable on telling you to go spend time there. As far as Romania, Bulgaria, we would love to recommend those to you, but they're probably going to go to Schengen. Again, Austria stood in their way at this particular moment. The whole goal of the Schengen is that all these countries have to have strong borders, and they have to be able to protect their borders, enforce their borders, and that they don't have foreigners coming in, and that they are protecting the integrity of the Schengen. So when Austria feels as though all of these prerequisites are filled by Bulgaria and Romania, which I will tell you have strong borders, we've been through them, then they're going to be going part of the zone. And I expect that it will happen in the next 12 months. And then
so plan for it.
Yeah. And then ETIAS
ETIAS
goes into effect in November of 2023. The applications start in May. You will need to have that to travel through the Schengen, regardless of your passport, unless you're coming from a EU Schengen country. The ETIAS is going to be a background check similar to what America does for people coming in. That they have to do a background check. You have to apply for that. It should take about 30 minutes online. It's going to cost you €7. It will be good for 3 years of time or until your passport expires, whichever is first. So those are the things happening in 2023 to be aware of. Croatia is off of the place to go to reset your Schengen clock.
We actually have it on ours for February, and it was supposed to be a non-Schengen time. So you have to just plan for these things. You know, you have to make changes. This person's saying Romania and Bulgaria are not joining Schengen, good for long-term travelers. Yes, we're aware of that for now, but we know that they are still trying very hard.
Yeah, they were expecting to be able to go into the Schengen with Croatia. They thought the Netherlands were their obstacle. The Netherlands had been the obstacle in the past. The Netherlands, they needed unanimous consent. The Netherlands approved them on this time around, but Austria gave them a surprise and did not approve them. So all of the other members of the Schengen approved Romania and Bulgaria, except for Austria.
And that was good for us, even though we don't want to, brag about it. But it was a good thing for all of us.
We understand the anger and the upset from the Romanians and the Bulgarians of not being approved to join the EU bloc of the Schengen. But it's for us, that means when we go and spend a couple weeks in Bulgaria, it's not going to go against our Schengen clock. Right now, we have to go back to Bulgaria every year with our car Abby, because she's a Bulgarian car, so we have to go do the inspection, the MOT every year. So it's nice to go to Bulgaria and not have it count against our Schengen clock. So if it goes Schengen, when we go back with our car Abby, that will be time against our Schengen clock. So if we go there for a week to take care of our car, which typically it takes like a day to take care of the stuff, but if we go there, we probably spend a few days or a week. It takes off time from the Schengen. So.
Yes.
Right now, there's a lot of places we want to go visit and spend time and share with you. And as if you're new to watching our channel, if you're finding this live feed, this is the first time you're watching us, we travel and try to spend a month, 2 or 3 in a place. And so we share that with you, but our time, you're going to see more stuff coming out of these non-Schengen countries. You'll see more than half of our videos coming from the non-Schengen countries, because that's where we're going to spend most of our time, because we don't have to worry about the clock. We get 90 days in each country. So when we go out into the Schengen, if we spend a month or 2 in one country, then we are limiting how much time we have in another country. So we might only be able to get to 2 Schengen countries at a time to give them any real time to see what it's like to live there. So if we go to Italy in the future and we want to spend a month or 2 there, then that only leaves us a month or 2 to spend somewhere else.
Right.
And then we have to get out.
Right. So we call it our Schengen shuffle.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, International Living, we are doing videos for them. They are launching International Living TV in January, and we are providing them with 12 videos for the year. And so those will not be on our YouTube channel. We will be putting links to them on our website at warrenjulietravel.com. We've set up a little section, so we'll put links in there so that you can find those videos when they're released. And one of the videos we're going to do is going to be discussing the Schengen Shuffle and explaining a lot of what we're talking about today, but a little bit more polished and clear, concise. We wanted to do this because this is immediate stuff. 3 days ago is when the decision came down on the Schengen for Croatia, Romania, and Bulgaria. And again, Romania and Bulgaria were declined. Croatia goes on January 1. So this can impact your travel plans going forward as of January. And especially if you're going to be a slow traveling nomad, for those of you that don't know what a slow mad is. So if you're nomadic, if you're going to be an expat, doing the traveling around Europe like Julie and I, or that's your dream, these are things you have to keep in mind. If you're looking at buying an investment property or a place to home base, Serbia, Montenegro our options. Novi Sad is one of our favorite locations, and it's great proximity into jumping into the Schengen. Zlatibor in Serbia is a good location. Belgrade is really a nice city, especially near the old town or the downtown. But Montenegro, all along Kotor Bay, the Budva area, Herceg-Novi, great areas to explore for a place to home base. Coming down to Turkey, you have Antalya, or you have Istanbul, easy flights in and out all over the world.
Very much.
And then we haven't been there yet, but we've been getting some great reports out of friends from Sarande, Albania, that they're loving it there. So that's an option.
And we're going to see Tirana. So we're going to only three days, but
Yeah. Is the Poland deal with Americans still alive?
I assume you are talking about the bilateral agreement. And as we understand it, yes, our attorney has told us it is in effect.
Yeah. So the bilateral agreement, the thing is, the thing that worries me about recommending and suggesting the bilateral agreement is it just seems like there's not many people that know. It's very esoteric, and I don't know if you're going to get challenged on that later. And if you spend more than 90 days in Poland and then go into the Schengen and try to leave across a different Schengen border, you can be in violation of Schengen. So if you were in Poland and you're trying to work on that bilateral agreement thing, you're going to want to leave by plane outside of Poland, because traveling across into another country, they may not see that the bilateral agreement works for you. That's where having Ukraine nearby was really nice. If you want to do Poland, you can jump from Krakow to Lviv really easily.
3.5 hours.
And maybe that would be an option in the future, 90-90 back and forth, and maybe a quick trip down to Serbia now and then. But it's Poland is a great place, and I want to recommend that as a place to go to. But as far as the bilateral agreement, it's there. I just don't know of many people that it's been really successful for, or I don't know anybody that's failed for either, to be fair.
Right.
And if you've been following us, you know that because of my Polish ancestry, I actually have an active case open to get Polish residency, permanent residency based on my ancestry. And so we've got videos all on that, so you can go look at our Polish block. And I'm waiting to get an immigration appointment to go back into Poland and explain or talk to them and see if I can get approved on permanent residency, which for us would be great, because then that does take the whole Schengen thing off of the table, and we would definitely get to spend more time in Poland, which we love. Cost of living there is great. The restaurants are fantastic, and we saw so much there. The Tatras Mountains, the area along the Baltic. There was so much about Poland that we loved.
Absolutely. We have a few people that have said hello, so hello back to them. And Linda, that is a good idea for a video. A digital nomad visa is available in Europe for long-term stays. We could look into that. I'm great. It's great to hear Tirana is nice. This person said they spent 3 months there. They're from Great Britain, and she says she's a British passport holder, and they have the same rules as Americans. So, yeah, it's not fun, but we figure it out. And welcome, Stephen, from Denver, Colorado. And we're glad it's helpful for you.
Yeah. So, let me find Arya here, because I especially if you're new, you got to know the whole family. So we have Katie, and come here, Arya. Come here, baby. We travel with our 2 dogs, which makes us a little bit different than the rest of the travelers out there. So this is my girl. This is Arya. So if you're new to the channel, we are traveling with our 2 dogs. Yes. So we had Katie up here earlier. She's smaller, and Arya's a rescue from Ecuador. And so she joined our family about 2 years ago. Yes. We rescued her when we were in Cuenca, Ecuador. And so that's part of the reason we drive everywhere. We don't jump in planes, because we don't want to put her into cargo. And we just find it easier to drive from place to place and have our schedule a little bit more free that way.
And we have a pet video that will be coming out on International Living. Apparently a lot of people want to know this information. And so that is something we're doing. I also answer people's emails and their text all the time about pets, because I'm a pet parent. I want to help anyone I can. Thanks. Yeah. We appreciate that. We're a nice family.
Yeah, which we try to be. So Yeah, so thanks for joining us. It is nighttime here. It's going on towards 8 o'clock here. So good morning to those of you in America, depending on where you are. Good afternoon throughout Europe. What we got?
We have one that I want to go over because it's asking about vaccination papers for the dogs in the countries we enter. When we arrived into Serbia. And as soon as the borders opened, again, that was COVID time, into Bulgaria as an EU country, we went there, we got EU pet passports. There's so much esoteric information to all of this, so that if you do have these questions, please feel free to email me. I'll do my best to answer you.
We do have videos on most of this stuff too.
Yes.
So if you go into our channel and you look at our video section, you can kind of scroll through. I know there's like 200 plus videos in there, but go ahead and scroll through there, or just look up like Warren Julie travel dogs or pets, and that might come up as on your search on YouTube as well.
My biggest recommendation to you is that if you are planning to travel in the EU at all and outside of it into the eastern part, into Central Europe, the Balkans, everywhere, you absolutely need to consider getting the rabies titer test. It's very, very important. They don't have to get PCR tests. No, they never did. And Mark, oh my gosh, our buddy. Hello, Katie, Aria, and owners.
Oh, Mark Gravitt from Ecuador.
Yes, we love Mark.
Nice seeing you, Mark, or nice seeing you here.
Yeah. And Victor. Hello, Victor.
Hey, Victor. Victor from Montenegro. Nice to see you, Victor.
Yes, we're hoping to see them again. So yeah, we're hoping that we can provide good information. We certainly try, but pets are definitely an added expense, and but they're our loves. But it's not impossible to bring them. So if you have questions, feel free to email me. Like I said, I'll do my very best to answer it. But consider getting that rabies titer test. I know it's expensive, but in the EU, it's good for the life of the pet. So that's a really good thing. If you've got a puppy, I mean, you're looking at years and years of that expense paying off, and it's a big deal. You need that test. Is Turkey still a safe choice to live for retirement? Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. But check out our latest residency videos, and get to know the new rules. The residency for the first time around is going to be 6 months. And for Americans, if you have income, you should be pretty good to get approved. And then the second time around, you might be able to go for a year. So it's not as easy as it once was, and the requirements financially are a little bit higher now.
Yes,
too.
they are.
It's roughly about $1,000 a person now that you have to be able to show per month for income.
But we feel very safe in Turkey. We love a lot of the cities, and they're all really lovely.
But also regarding Turkey, as it's been explained to us, they're very slanted on which countries you're coming from, on whether or not you'll be approved. So if you're coming from an EU country, or you're coming from the US, Canada, Australia, you probably have a pretty good chance of getting approved. If you're coming from Ukraine and Russia, you'll be approved for sure. If you're coming from the Middle East, if you're coming from India, from Asia, probably not. Unfortunately, it's or if you're coming from Africa, probably not. So it depends on where you're coming from, on how easy it will to be approved here in Turkey at the current moment, as explained by our residency expert in our residency video.
Right. So I guess we'll go ahead and close. It's late at night for us.
So everybody, thanks for joining. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, please. We'd love to have you follow along. Check out some of the other videos. We have a lot of content that goes over a lot of the topics that we try to share with you.
What's our plan for Asia? Well, we'll quickly say this.
Yeah.
We've been to Asia. We've seen the Philippines, Taiwan, and South Korea. I love Taiwan. We absolutely love Taiwan. But for now, with our pets, Asia's out.
If we end up getting approved on our Schengen stuff with Poland, which we expect that should get approved, we may home base there. And when we can figure out some responsible dog sitters, we may do some flights over to Asia. We won't do super long trips. We might go like for a week or something, or 2 weeks. And, we hate doing it short like that, but we'd like to maybe do some flights to different places, but we need to feel comfortable. We have somebody watching our dogs when we're away. We just don't want to leave them with anybody and leave them in a strange place. So it all depends about getting a comfortable home environment for them that we would be able to leave them. Then we can fly and leave for a little while.
Exactly.
And then we can have our friends from Ecuador, like Kay or Mark, come over and sit in our house, wherever it is, and watch our dogs for us and do dog sitting, house sitting. So anyhow, everybody, thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, give this live stream a like, and hopefully we'll see you in the chats and comments of our other videos. And so until next time, have a great day, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.